Then we read around the table. My first reading, oh, I was so nervous. And they made fun of me because I was a new kid, and I was a new kid. I was 34 years old back then, and so we read around the table, and we broke, and I gave my notes. I didn't know, really, because that's what the director does. You give notes, and then on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, you go down and rehearse right away. But anyway, just before I went down to rehearse, I said to Grand Tinker, in a sea of Danish, I get a bagel. And he laughed, and I went down and rehearsed. And what you're doing is you knew it was going to be changed a lot, so you're rehearsing stuff that you know is going to be changed, which is like rearranging deck chairs in the Titanic. So I had to rehearse scenes, and then the new scenes would come down, and then I'd do those, and then I have to go further on with the old scenes, and Mary didn't like the script, and she would complain about it, and I said, I don't know what to do. They're rewriting, and let's try to make the scene work. Let's think of this. It was a show where Lou moves into Rhoda's apartment, and since they worked together, living close to one another was not a good idea. So there was that last scene when they were saying goodbye to one another, and I said, let's sit on suitcases and pretend it's the cherry orchard. I swear to God, I was invoking Chekhov. I said, you guys are, okay, you're sitting on trucks, you're on your way to Moscow. Yeah. And I felt like Moscow was indicative of the amount of laughs in the show. So I worked really hard. I worked really hard trying to create business. I was in there. And then camera day came, and the assistant director was a guy named John Choulet, who has passed away, and he was a whiz with cameras. And a lot of times on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, or some shows, would have new directors come in who weren't quite accustomed to cameras. John would help them. So John said to me that first day, he said, do you want help with your cameras? And I said, no, I got to do it. And if you go to the archives, you'll see the first show I directed, I had to share credit with John Choulet. So many directors had come in and been ill-prepared for doing cameras that John said, okay, you got it. So the Grant asked me if that was okay. I said, look, that's fine. I'm getting a shot. So I came in, and I started with the cameras, and I had worked all Wednesday night on marking you have to mark your script, and you go down every line, and you have to put an A, B, C next to the line to know that it's covered with a camera. And I started to work, and then, so your plans at home wouldn't work, so you'd have to improvise a little bit. And then I came to a moment in the apartment where Mary was gesturing wildly like this in a scene. And I said, can you, because the close-up camera, your arms are going, she said, don't make me change my motions. So what I did was have to invent a way to get a wider camera on her. What I did was lose Ed Asner in the shot, and took the master camera over and made it a wider shot, so I had a close and wide to see all her hand gestures. So I mean, those were things you had to work with. It took me, I think I finished about 5:30. I started at 9, finished 5:30. I was just dead tired. And then the next day you come in, and that's your shoot day. So you come in at noon, and you go over the cameras again to make sure you have everything, and then you have a run through. And then then comes 7:30, and I got my duds on, and I got my jacket and a tie, and everybody's wishing me good luck. And then just before we shot the show, Mary comes over to me and says, I think our investment in you has worked out. And I was taken aback. I had no, that was her blessing and Grant's blessing. And I remember not really taking that in, and not really realizing how important that was, because I was still so nervous. And I remember doing the show, and still being just, sweating, and I'll never forget this moment that there was a scene in the office, and Ted entered. Ted entered the office. He came in, and he said his line, and then Murray had a line, and Murray screwed up his line. I said, okay, let's take it from Murray's line. And I hear from the booth, the camera coordinator, no, take it from Ted's entrance. And I look up there, and there's Jay. And what in essence he was doing was protecting me, because he was, you know, he knew I couldn't cut the show. He knew you couldn't, because on a lot of the show, you know, you try to back up to the last usable line. That's, as a director, that's what you try to do, so that you can cut the show. So he was there, and the show turned out to be maybe a C+, B-. But the next day, my phone didn't stop ringing. I got 2 Newharts, I got a Bob Crane, I got a Paul Sand, and then the year was over. And then next year I was the regular director on Phyllis. So from that one moment, my career really took off.